President Biden has announced a $42 billion initiative to put high-speed internet in every U.S. household by 2030. According to the White House, more than 8 million households and businesses do not have broadband.
Just last week, we announced our plan to bring affordable high-speed internet. To no one's surprise, it's bringing along some converts. People strenuously opposed, voting against it when we had this going on. This was going to bankrupt America. Well, there's a guy named Tuberville, senator from Alabama, who announced that he strongly opposed the legislation. Now he's hailing its passage. Here's what he said, quote, "It's great to see Alabama receive critical funds to boost ongoing broadband efforts."
I might be off, but that fella looks a lot like Dark Brandon.
But I'm not sure about Dark Brandon.
During his Bidenomics speech today, President Biden came out swinging for the fences. And Representative Tuberville, he didn't just catch strays, he caught the whole chamber. Now, I can't. I'm for gun regulation. I'm sorry, I can't use that line. Biden, he called him out, all right? Called him out big time.
That's what the bipartisan infrastructure law does. It will be for our kids and grandkids, only bigger. Just last week, we announced our plan to bring affordable high-speed internet to end the decade of unaffordable and inaccessible internet to every home in America, every small business in America. And to no one's surprise, it's bringing along some converts. People strenuously opposed, voting against it when we had this going on. This was going to bankrupt America. Well, there's a guy named Tuberville, senator from Alabama, who announced that he strongly opposed the legislation. Now he's hailing its passage. Here's what he said, quote, "It's great to see Alabama receive critical funds to boost ongoing broadband efforts." We're replacing every single lead pipe in this country.
And this isn't the first time that Tuberville caught strays. I'm sorry.
We have 35,000 infrastructure projects, and before you say, oh, you're not going to see a bridge for 20 years or whatever, there are Republican senators humiliating themselves on Twitter now, talking about how excited they are that the broadband is coming to them, $3 billion going on. Tommy Tuberville, I think is how you pronounce it, says like, the broadband's coming, and then Joe Biden gets to, quote, retweet him and say, see you at the groundbreaking, which is what he did to Mitch McConnell. John Cornyn's been doing it, Nancy Mace, Elise Stefanik. These are people who voted against the things that their constituents are now going to get, and they want to take credit, and they don't deserve it for voting against it. 10.5 million new applicants for small business loans in the last 2 years. That's the fastest we've seen that happen over a 2-year period. So, one of my favorites, U.S. consumer confidence, talked about that. It's at a 17-month high. I'm not saying that the right track.
From where? I thought you were going to say 17-year. From where?
From COVID.
Oh,
you think COVID didn't? Well, but it does matter when you say that he doesn't have stuff to run on. It's just not true.
And this comes after Tuberville sent out this tweet seemingly celebrating the very thing that he voted against. And doesn't that sound familiar? A Republican hitching a ride on the bandwagon after doing everything possible to slice its tile. And I recall Dark Brandon calling to attention this very issue in the wake of the infrastructure bill passing, which again Republicans voted against, then posed next to the big check like they were on Wheel of Fortune.
It's not just this morning. I saw there's a report. You guys can, as they say, as my grandkids say, Google it. But a report that came out, CNN, it says, Republicans call Biden infrastructure program socialism. And then they ask for the money. And it goes through all the Republicans, the most conservative Republicans who call it socialism, and how they're asking for it. A guy named Paul Gosar. He's written 3 separate letters to the administration asking for projects in his district. He says it enhanced the quality of life, that ease congestion, boost the economy. Voted against it, says it's all socialism. Go down the list. Kentucky Representative Andy Barr, the biggest socialist agenda. 3 different projects he wants, citing the importance of the safety and growth of his district. Rand Paul, I go down the list. Look it up. Socialism. I didn't know there were that many socialist Republicans. Think about it. I'm serious. Let's get serious about taking care of ordinary people, regular people like I grew up. Folks, look, you can't make this stuff up. You got to say, and I got to say, I was surprised to see so many socialists in the Republican caucus. But folks, here's the bottom line. If Republicans take control of the Congress, these historic victories we just won for the American people are going to be taken away. Every kitchen table cost is going to go up, not down. And I realize costs are going up on food, and I was able to bring gasoline down well over $1.60, but it's inching up because of what the Russians and the Saudis just did. I'm not finished with that yet. The cost of your prescription drugs and healthcare, energy, they'll all go up. The protection of pre-existing conditions are taken away. Your Social Security and Medicare are going to be in the chopping block. But they don't want you to know that. They're not campaigning on it, but that's what they are saying. That's the documents they're sending out.
And here's the thing. While Republicans are trying to play, look over there with the vice president's poll numbers, it's all a means to deflect from the reality that, number one, their frontrunner is in a world of shite.
How damning is this for the former president, do you think?
Well, they special counsel already had Trump dead to rights because we knew this tape existed in some form. But to actually hear a former president of the United States committing a felony, probably multiple felonies, on audio tape while laughing about it is something I think it's just stunning.
You say Trump's alleged conduct is indefensible. So many Republicans continue to defend him. What will it say if the party, your longtime party, puts him forward as their nominee?
Well, that's the problem. I don't think they're actually defending his conduct, but they are saying it's unfair to prosecute him. But that then raises another question. Okay, if it's unfair to prosecute him, that's not the whole answer. The question is, should we be putting someone like this forward as the leader of the country, leader of the free world, who's engaged in this kind of conduct? The other thing is, this is not just an isolated example. Trump has many good qualities, and he accomplished some good things. But the fact of the matter is, he is a consummate narcissist, and he constantly engages in reckless conduct that puts his political followers at risk and the conservative and Republican agenda at risk.
Would he put the country at risk if he was in the White House again?
He will always put his own interests and gratifying his own ego ahead of everything else.
Number two, the Biden administration continues to prove it is far more popular in the polls.
When you look at all of the data, it suggests that Trump, if he's in the race, he makes it about Trump, and people have very clear views about that. His diehard supporters, you see him gaining in the primaries and falling in the general election, and Biden picking up more independents, more suburban voters, people who could be swayed back by a more moderate Republican candidate potentially. And Donald Trump's net negative reading makes Kamala look like the most successful woman in history. It's negative 56.
The majority of Americans are in favor of this administration's economic policy. Look at the record this far: record jobs, record unemployment, infrastructure bill, capping insulin prices, lowering drug costs, high-speed internet policy. And now Republicans are celebrating. The list goes on.
Wait, but I want to challenge the premise. You said the economy, 13.1 million jobs he's created. More.
These are post-COVID jobs.
Okay.
You know that. That's an artificial number.
No. Then let me stipulate this as an opportunity to engage civilly on this.
Okay.
Fair point. Your president, Donald Trump, lost 2.6 million jobs during his 4 years. We've created 13.1 million. Fine, you can maintain a COVID frame. How about the fact that Joe Biden's created more jobs, 6 times more jobs than the previous 3 Republican presidents combined?
Are you going to tell me that?
So of course Republicans are going to try to feed off the scraps when they fall, all while screaming about the meal in the first place.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.